This is the inside of the Auto-Sleeper Fairford. On entrance we have the step button just here. The step will automatically put itself away when the engine has been started. We then have the awning light on and off just here. And beside that we then have the low level LEDs. If I now enter the van and turn round, we have the main control panel just here. So we have master switch just here, so 12 volt off and 12 volt on. We then have water pump on and off just here. We need the water pump on so we can get water out of the taps, flush the toilet and fill the boiler if it has been drained down. Water levels just here. So we have how much water is in the fresh tank and how much water is in the waste tank. And then beneath that we have power levels. So we have the condition of the leisure battery, condition of the vehicle battery, whichever the active battery is for the habitation ends ampage. We then have a mains current reading and a solar current reading just there. Master button just here for all of the onboard lights. These can then all be individually turned on and off on their own switches, and if they are these touch lights, they do actually need to be touched when they've been turned off. Again, awning light on and off just here. And then we have battery selection, so L for leisure, V for vehicle. Whichever battery is selected on here is the battery you are using to run the back end of the motorhome, and if you are connected to the main supply, that is the battery you are charging. Along the top here we have the external temperature. You'll see we have a little lightning strike just here indicating that we have main supply connected, and this little picture of the sun always appears whenever the solar panel is active. Humidity in the center, and then we have the internal temperature just here, followed by the time and the day and date just here. If I now press the cog, this will take us into the settings menu. So we have power settings just here. The easiest thing to do with these is just leave it into the smart charging mode. So currently at the moment, being in smart mode, the active battery is the leisure battery, so this is being charged from the main supply at the moment, and the solar panel is charging the vehicle. Automatic tank fill just here, so this actually needs to be turned on if you are using the whale filler hose on the outside of the motorhome. This just makes the solenoid that allows the water in live. And then beneath that we have both waste and fresh tank heaters. These can be activated if you are using the van in extremely cold climate, and they will come into effect if the temperature outside is roughly below about 3-4 degrees. Main lights that at the moment are on to come on when you turn the panel on. They can be turned off if you do not want that to happen. And as you can see at the moment, the awning light will not come on when you turn the master switch on at the moment, but again can be changed. Key beeps on and off. Water level alarms for the fresh and waste tanks. So at the moment it will let you know when your water is low. The brightness of this backlight and how quickly this screen times out when you are not using it. Set your time and date. And then we just end up back at the beginning again. Beside this control panel, we then have the Truma control panel for the heating and hot water. So again, at the moment it's displaying the time and letting us know that we have main supply connected. If I now press the button, it will bring up a series of icons, and as I begin to rotate the button, they will start to flash. So if we start with the first icon just here, this is for the heating. So if I now press the button, the heating is off. And if I now begin to rotate it, we can pick whatever temperature we would like it inside the motorhome, right the way up to 30 degrees. So once you've decided on a temperature, just press the button to store it in, and you'll see that a little flame has appeared above there. That little flame there just represents the heating system, and it's just letting you know that you've set a parameter. Whenever the heating is actually in operation, the flame will begin to flash, and it will continue to flash until it's achieved the temperature you have asked. If I now move across to the next icon, this one here is for your hot water. So again, if I now click on it, hot water is off, and if I begin to rotate, I can heat hot water in eco mode, which will give us a temperature of about 40 degrees. I can heat in hot mode, which gives us a temperature of about 60 degrees. And I can also perform a boost on the boiler. The boost is very handy if there's going to be more than one of you having showers in quick succession of each other, or if you just want hot water very quickly. If you do perform the boost and the heating's running, it will turn the heating off, as it needs to use the extra power to do the boost. And again, the icon will continue to flash until it's achieved the temperature you have asked. If I now move across to the next icon, this is for power source. So at the moment, to do both heating and hot water, I am using mains electricity using 2 kilowatts. I can, by rotating, lower the power consumption to 1 kilowatt, which is very handy if you're in a low amp site to try and avoid tripping. If you have both power sources available, you can run in dual fuel mode, so a mixture of gas and mains at 2 kilowatts. Very handy, especially in the colder months of the year if you want to get up to temperature nice and quickly. It will only consume gas as it's required. You can then run in dual fuel on a mixture of gas and mains at 1 kilowatt, again if you're on a low amp site. And if you don't have any main supply, you can solely run on the gas. The next icon is the circulation fan. So at the moment we are running the fan for the heating in eco mode. We can put it up to high. If I now turn off both heating and the hot water, and I now return to it, we can also use it to vent the motorhome, and it has a fan speed of 1 to 10. If I now drop to the lower icons, this first one here is for a basic timer. So if I now click on it, we can set when we would like the timer to begin, and then when we would like it to finish. And then once we've set the time parameters, we can then just select what we would like on. So let's say we want the heating on at 16 degrees. We want our water to heat up to about 60. We just want to be using gas on its own, and we'll leave the circulation fan in eco mode. Once we've done all this, timer on or off, if I now activate the timer icon will come up in the corner there, and because I've set it within the time that it is at the moment, you'll see that it's now active. If I now return and I turn it back off again, once I go back in, I can then alter it again. After that, we then just have the clock set, and then lastly we have the settings menu. So within this we have offset, which is just for the onboard thermostat. If you don't think it's quite correct, you can just slightly alter it. The thermostat is just here. Temperature, just if you prefer it displayed in Celsius or Fahrenheit. Brightness of the screen. 12 or 24 hour clock. Language. Index, which is just for the technician, so just lets them know what software it's running. And then lastly, full factory reset. So from time to time, these control panels can throw up error codes. They will usually be something relatively basic. So This control panel is linked to this control panel. So if I now turn off the 12 volt, we should get an error code appear on here, which is W255H, which is the error code for I've lost 12 volt. As you can see, numbers, warning triangle. If I now rectify the problem by turning the 12 volt back on again, it will automatically disappear. Other errors you can get are stuff like I do not have main supply or I do not have gas. And again, if you rectify the problem 9 times out of 10, it will just automatically disappear. If that's not the case, I always suggest if you have anything still running to just turn it off, because it can reassess a lot faster when it's not trying to do lots of things at once. If that still does not work, try just turning the unit on and off, and the way we turn it off is just by holding the button in just here until it says off. If when you turn it back on again you still have an error code, I then always suggest just doing the factory reset, because sometimes that's all that is required. If I now just move to the back of the van and I just remove the cushions from the bench seat, you can see we have one of the table tops just there that with the table pole can then drop into the floor just here. If I now lift up, tucked underneath here we have the Truma combi boiler just here. To drain the boiler down for winterization, it's just done on the blue diamond just here. These particular drain valves are also automatic, so if they're in the closed position and the temperature inside the van drops below about 3 or 4 degrees, this valve will automatically open and drop all the water out of the boiler, frost protecting itself. If you are going to manually drain it down, firstly make sure that the water pump has been turned off, and then it's just a matter of twisting this blue diamond, and then a blue button will just pop out of the base of the unit just down at the front here. To reclose it again, just twist and push the blue button back in again, and it will then re-lock. Then it's just a matter of making sure you've got water in your fresh tank, turning the water pump on, and it will then begin to refill the boiler. I always suggest that if you are fully winterizing the motorhome, that once you've drained the boiler down, that you also go around and open up all the taps in the van, because this will help release any airlocks in the system and make it drain down far more efficiently. When it comes to refilling the boiler, if you have done this, let the water pump begin to refill and then start opening the taps up. They will cough and splutter as they force the air out of the system. Once the water is running freely on both hot and cold, reclose and the system will fully reprime itself. The only time you're touching this blue diamond is if you are manually draining the boiler. If it has auto dropped and you try to reset it and you're pushing the blue button in and it's just popping straight back out again, it's just too cold in the van, and you will need to turn the heating on to generate some heat to allow it to reset. Underneath the opposite bench seat you will find a good storage space. And again, tucked behind we have the other table. The consumer unit is just located at this point here. And you will find the trip switches just here. So we've got the individual MCBs, and then the main RCD and the test button just here. So if anything is not working on main supply, just check to see if you've tripped at this point here. Beside that, we then have the 12 volt fuses, and again they're all numbered up. If a fuse is blown, a red light will appear underneath it, so it makes it easy to find it. So again, if anything is not working on 12 volt, just check to see if a fuse is blown. Tucked up here we then have isolator buttons for components that use mains electricity. So we have the amber one here for the heating and the hot water system. So if you do press this and you're trying to run the Truma system on the main supply, you will get an error code because it's been isolated. The green one here is for the onboard battery charger. Again, if this is turned off, you will not be able to charge either the leisure battery or the vehicle battery from the main supply. This light here will illuminate if you have reverse polarity connected to the van. This can sometimes be found on some continental sites. And then we have full system shutdown just here. So if you're not going to use the van for a longer period of time, you can press this and it will then kill any residual draw on the leisure battery. If I now just come to the travel seats just here and again just remove the cushions, and I now just lift up. Tucked under here you will find some more 12-volt fuses just there, and again they are all labelled up, and mainly for components on the outside of the van like the marker lights, etc. And then we have the leisure battery just here. The heating and the hot water system can be controlled via the Truma app. If you are going to use this, you need to download the app onto either your smartphone or tablet, and once you've done this, you need to make sure your Bluetooth is turned on and then launch the app and then follow the on-screen instructions. It will firstly ask you to come to the iNet box, which is just located here. It will then ask you to push the Bluetooth button just here, and then once you've connected up to it, you can then control your heating and your hot water locally via Bluetooth. What you can also do is add a pay-as-you-go SIM card, just roughly where my finger is just here, register this through the app, and then you can control your heating and your hot water from much further afield. Beside that, we have the microwave, which will work when the motorhome is connected to main supply. The isolator switch for it is just here. Do make sure that all contents are removed for travel. And then we have the power settings just here. Wait time defrost. We also have presets, etc. Quick start here, stop. Beneath the microwave is the extractor, 2 fan speeds, and we have 2 light levels as well. 3 gas burners just here, and it's just a matter of pushing in, twisting and pushing the igniter. Beneath that is the oven and the grill. And again, it's just a matter of pushing in, twisting around, pushing the igniter. And then if I then go back and push it in the opposite direction, we then have the grill. Storage beneath, and you'll find the majority of the gas isolation taps for the van just here. So at the top we have the hob and the oven, in the centre we have the fridge, and then at the bottom the heating and the hot water system. Fairford fridge just here. To turn the unit on, just press the black button just here. And at the moment I'm running on main supply with a little picture of the 2-pin plug at level 3. If I want to change anything, just hold the grey button in and then it will begin to flash. So I can move it along and I can put the fridge on 12 volt maintain, which is what it needs to be on to keep the fridge cold whilst on the move. It will only work whilst the engine is running. After that, we then have gas with a little picture of the flame. So let's say we want to run it on gas, press, select the temperature, and then just press again. These particular fridges auto ignite themselves. If it fails to light or there's a problem on any setting, you will get a red light in here and the whole unit will begin to flash. And I can do this at the moment if I now just select 12 volt maintain, because the engine's currently not running. So as you can now see, it's all flashing away and we have the red error light. Freezer box at the top. In the overhead locker just here, you will find the television aerial booster on and off just here. Do make sure that it's on before trying to tune in a television, and then control the boost on the dial just here. Washroom just here, so we've got the Fairford toilet just here. The bowl does swivel all around. To open to the cassette, just slide the grey lever across, and then to flush it, you'll find the flush just here. Do make sure that the water pump is on, or otherwise it will not work. And the level indicator for the cassette is just here. So this will rotate round to red when it needs emptying. Do make sure that this is reclosed again when not in use. If this has been left open and you try to remove the cassette from the outside, it will not come out. So if you do feel resistance, just make sure that nobody has left it open. Basin just here, which slides across. And then we have the shower, which also seconds as the tap as well for the basin. And if you're going to use the shower, it just fits in at this point here. And the extractor fan on and off is just here. Storage here, and you'll also find both table poles tucked in here as well. And then beside that, again, more storage and the cutlery drawer just here. And then more storage underneath here as well. To make this a front bed, we firstly need to remove the table. Once the table has been removed, you need to fold the leg. So if I now just press the button in, I can fold that leg across. This section here just needs to drop down. And then once this is in position, the table then sits on these edges just here. You can also attach these parts here to these bits just here, and this will stop anything from sliding about. Once the table is in position, these two sections then need to also slide out. And then once they've been slidden out, you then need to add all of the infills. Once these three infills are in place, you can see that we've got a gap right in the middle just here, and we use this cushion just here. You'll see that we have a missing piece here, and that is what this infill is for. Once that's in, it can then be dropped into position after just removing this section just here as well. If you want to avoid, when sleeping, rolling onto any of like the sockets etc., Auto-Sleeper do also provide this section just here, which then just drops in to this point just here to avoid rolling onto them. The driver's seat does not rotate round, but the passenger seat does, and it rotates around just on the red lever just here. Both seats do, however, have height adjustment on these two levers just here. We then have the backrest movement and also lumbar support just here, followed by armrests as well. To make the rear bed, it's very simple. It is just a matter of slightly lifting up and pulling both of these sections out so they meet in the middle, and then it's just a matter of dropping in the back cushions